In the history of football, there are great players. There are legends. And then there is Eric Cantona, a man who didn't just play the game, he redefined it. He didn't just win trophies, he commanded them. He wasn't just a footballer. He was a poet, a provocateur, a philosopher, and a king. Eric Daniel Pierre Cantona was born on May 24, 1966, in Marseille, France. He grew up in a working-class family in the rough suburbs of the city. His father, a painter, and his mother, a seamstress, instilled in him a fierce independence and a rebellious spirit. From a very young age, Eric had two defining traits: extraordinary football talent and a volcanic temper. He could dazzle you with his skill one moment and shock you with his fury the next. It was this duality, the artist and the outlaw, that would define his entire life. By the early 1990s, Cantona had become one of France's brightest stars. He played for Olympique de Marseille and won the French league title. But his career was a roller coaster of brilliant goals and shocking outbursts. He once threw his shirt at a referee. He insulted the French national team manager, Michel Platini, to his face. In 1988, he famously shouted at a journalist, calling him a baguette, a moment that became legendary in French football folklore. His talent was undeniable, but his temperament made him a liability. The French establishment didn't know what to do with him. They saw a genius, but they also saw a ticking time bomb. And then came the fateful moment that changed everything. In 1991, during a match for Nîmes, he threw a ball at a referee in frustration. He was given a 1-month ban. But when he was called before the disciplinary committee, he lost his temper again, and the ban was extended to 2 months. A frustrated Cantona decided he had enough. At just 25 years old, he shocked the world by announcing his retirement from football. But Eric Cantona was too young to walk away. His agent convinced him to try England. And so, in 1992, he arrived in the cold, rainy north of England, signing for Leeds United. It was a gamble. English football was physical, fast, and unforgiving. No one knew if this temperamental French artist could survive the brutalism of the Premier League. But Cantona didn't just survive, he thrived. He became the talisman of a new United dynasty. His famous popped collar, his upright posture, his calm, piercing gaze, he looked like a king surveying his kingdom. He wasn't just a footballer, he was a work of art. In November 1992, a phone call changed football history. Sir Alex Ferguson, the manager of Manchester United, was desperate. His team were in crisis, playing boring football and blowing leads. He needed a spark, a catalyst, a player who could turn mediocrity into magic. "I signed Eric Cantona for £1.2 million, Ferguson later said. And that was the bargain of the century. In his very first game for Manchester United, Cantona set up 2 goals. He didn't just play, he transformed the entire team. Suddenly, United were playing with swagger, with intelligence, with audacity. "I was the king," Cantona would later say, "and I was ruling." But the king had a dark side. And on a cold night in January 1995, at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace, that darkness erupted for the world to see. After being sent off by the referee for a foul, Cantona was walking towards the tunnel. As he passed the touchline, a Crystal Palace fan named Matthew Simmons ran down the steps and shouted abuse at him. He called him a French. It was one insult too many. In a moment of pure, unbridled rage, Cantona leaped over the advertising hoardings. Not with a punch. Not with a push. He launched himself into the air and performed a kung fu kick directly into the fan's chest. He then followed up with several punches. The stadium gasped. The cameras captured everything. It was the most shocking incident in Premier League history. Cantona was instantly vilified by the English media. He was arrested, sentenced to 2 weeks in jail, later reduced to community service, and given a massive 8-month ban from football by the FA. He was also fined £20,000. The world thought his career was over. The critics wrote him off. They said he was a madman, a thug, a disgrace to football. And for a moment, even Cantona wondered if he would ever play again. But true to his nature, when he finally faced the press, he didn't apologize in the way people expected. He stood at the microphone, his collar up, with an unreadable expression. When he returned in October 1995, he was greeted by a sea of red at Old Trafford. The fans had not forgotten their king. The team had struggled without him, and they desperately needed his magic. And Cantona delivered. He rediscovered his form with breathtaking speed. He looked more dangerous than ever, his passing sharper, his movement more intelligent, his hunger more intense. Eric Cantona was a man who played football like poetry. He walked onto the pitch with his head held high, with a chest full of swagger, and with a mind that saw the game differently from anyone else. He was flawed. He was controversial. He was unpredictable. And that's exactly why we loved him. Sir Alex Ferguson once said, if there was one player who could have played in any era, it was Cantona. He had the intelligence, the bravery, and the arrogance to dominate. So, what do you think? Was Eric Cantona a genius, a madman, or both? Let us know in the comments below.
Please subscribe my channel and give your views in comment.